Hello. Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
My name is Gael Doorneweerd and I come from Amsterdam, the Netherlands.
And my name is Gael Doorneweerd, and I come from Strasbourg in France.
And as you may already notice, we have the same last name because we're newlyweds. And at this moment, we're traveling the world and we managed to get to Nepal. We're here at the Arts Quarter. We're like literally in it.
Yes.
We're just going to answer a few questions about improv.
Yeah, exactly. Our travel is lasting for a full year, and we are traveling to teach and perform improv. That's what we are, teachers and improvisers.
Yeah.
Who we are.
I sometimes say I'm an improviser by day and by night. Basically, don't do a lot of other things. So it's super lucky that I am now in an improv couple.
Let's start.
Okay.
Who?
Good.
First question.
Oh yeah.
Who inspired you to start improv, to begin improv?
I guess the real answer would be the lady at the reception of the cultural center who refused to give me my money back when I wanted to cancel a different course, and then she said, "You cannot get your money back. If you want, you can take a different course." And then she said there's only space left in improv, and that's how I got into improv. So the real answer would be that lady. I guess if we could talk about who was the person who brought improv to me and got me excited, that would be Sven Lancer from Amsterdam as well. Or currently he lives in Leiden. Yeah, he was my first teacher, and he did a good thing of sort of like poking me the right way to realize that improv was a good thing for me. He definitely didn't make me realize that I was good at it. He made me realize that I needed it, which was true.
Ah, nice. For me, I guess it would be Cedric Marshall, who also lives in Strasbourg. He was studying with me geology, something completely different. And he was the first person who I've seen related to improv. I didn't know about improv, and I heard that he just started improv, and I was like, oh, what is that? So I saw a show, and the show was probably pretty bad, but it was exciting anyway. And somehow the community, we went to have beers and stuff, and the community was nice. So the next Monday I was in a class with him in his little team, and because the team was lacking people, because we didn't have a great teacher. Ruby, I'm sorry if you see that. So we lost a lot of people, so immediately I played a lot of shows. I had to like catch up with that, so I did like 2 rehearsals a week, and after only 10 days I was already on stage with my first show, which was probably great because I'm good at starting very hard or not, and I guess that's how I started.
Mm. So how did your first steps into improv go into your professional career?
Wow, that's a good question. I think because I started very fast, very big immediately. I was part of a very big association in Strasbourg, and so I ate a lot of improv. I did a lot of improv. I slept improv. I started to see nobody with improvisers, and I got in touch for a specific project with a professional company that was creating an improv show with improv theater, but also improv music and juggling. It was a street show called Public Bench, and that company was La Troupe Tour, which is a company I'm still part of in Strasbourg. It's a very small company, and they were looking for players that had these 3 abilities, and I did. So even if I was pretty beginner, I got thrown in that company with very experienced players, very inspiring players, and that made me grow pretty fast because I could continue to do what I was doing with my association, but also being part of the projects of that company. And very quickly I took part of other shows also, etc. And I became a full member. But after basically 6 months of improv, I was already in another company doing another project completely different and creating that show with them. So I think that was the first step of doing something else. And after that, after a few years, I started my own improv company with a couple of friends in Strasbourg, La Carpelote, who is definitely the most professional company I'm part of. What about you? How did you slip into professional improv?
So it's kind of like a smooth transition because I was already teaching theater and dance as my job. So as I was doing that and I was doing improv as a hobby, even though it felt for me like different worlds, now looking back on it, I'm like, basically I was doing like the same. It was all improv, theater, dance kind of stuff. I do remember sort of the step into taking improv more seriously than a hobby, and that was when Ryan Miller, Canadian improviser who lives in Amsterdam, he started inviting me for the Theme Prov, which was a show in the Mass Rap, and that's a storytelling venue in Amsterdam. And he made like little casts for those shows. And the first few times I thought, oh, it's so nice that he gives me this opportunity. Like, oh, he must think I'm a kind person and therefore he puts me in a cast. But it happened a lot for it just being a favor. And then at some point I talked to Ryan and he said, didn't do it as a favor, do it because you were good. And that to me, it was like I learned a lot in those mass rap shows, but sort of like this person who had the choice of all the Amsterdam improvisers and picked me, and it wasn't a favor, that was like, oh, wait, maybe this is something else.
But you're not only a player, you're also a teacher.
Yeah.
How did you start teaching improv professionally? Because teaching is a big part of your job, as I know, because I'm her husband. The teaching is a big part of your job. So how did you get into teaching improv? When was the transition of just being an improviser and learning improv to go to teach improv?
It didn't go for me like that. I was a teacher I was a paid teacher from the age of 19, and basically I've been a teacher all my life. So I've been teaching theater and dance because at the age of 19, this guy in my hometown, Ron Holst, thank you, he gave me the opportunity to teach a bunch of kids. And I started teaching with no information on how to teach, none. I didn't look at books. I wasn't trained to do so. I was just given a group of kids, make theater with kids. And so I'm standing there as a 19-year-old looking at a bunch of 10-year-olds. I'm like, oh, yeah.
They're not like, and running around.
And then I start talking and they went like this.
Wow.
No, they were not. Actually, I think that's what made me a better teacher, is that they were running around and I had to make sense of that and put it somewhere into some sort of theater piece. And I feel that those kids and the theater owner have put me in a situation where I had to learn, where I had to figure out how to do this teaching thing, how to come up with exercises, how to make theater. Which has been a tremendous learning curve ever since. So teaching improv was kind of smooth because I was already doing theater, I was already doing dance, I was doing improv as a player, and it sort of just made sense to also start doing improv. How about you?
Same but different. I've been teaching. So I studied geology and I've been teaching, even before that, a lot of science class and like mentoring things. And when I was at the university, I was in touch with my director, Yves Géraud. Thank you.
A lot of shout outs.
We're
Yes.
thanking a lot of people. And he trusted me to teach while I was still studying. So I would be in the second year of my license degree, so second year of university, and I would start teaching the students of the first year. I would give mentoring courses to the people of the same year. And so I started teaching more and more at the university during my license degree, during my master degree, and then during my PhD. And I just love teaching. That was a big part of my work, and I really liked that. That was a very enjoyable part. And so when I stopped doing that, when I quit the university, I quit my PhD, and I started to work in a private company. I had a little less teaching, even if I was also hired to teach my colleagues. And I started to teach more and more improv pretty naturally. Same, a little organic, because I was in a company that was very big, and I started being one of the main admins in the board of that company. I took more and more seriously improv in that company, and I had my other company next to it, and I created my third company next to it. And so I just started to give like a class of like a week and sometimes like a trimester and more. And just started with weekly classes. And then when I started traveling, it was just obvious for me to also teach internationally, because I was already a teacher at home. So yeah, it was pretty organic, I think. I think I have a little bit of the same feeling than you. I'm more of a teacher than a performer at my core. And I've learned to be a better performer later, more than the other way around.
Yeah, no, definitely. All right, we're peeking at the list of questions. We did that one.
Yes, but we didn't do the next one.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. You want to go?
Okay, good. Where and from whom do you learn the act of improvisation?
I mentioned it a little bit already. I studied in Strasbourg, in France. It's near Germany. It's not Germany. It's France. Watch out. I studied in Strasbourg, and Strasbourg has a very big improv scene. We have started improv in the beginning of the 90s. Not me personally, because I was a baby, but the city of Strasbourg. And so I came into an association that is called La Lolita. It's an improv association that does match improv, a competitive format brought from Quebec. And so when I arrived, it was already an association with like 180 members or something like that. Shows every week, and like 11 or 12 different teams, and like a very big thing. So I had the opportunity to learn a lot of improv, play a lot of improv, see a lot of improv, watch a lot of improv. And as I said, the very first year, my very first teacher was not that experienced. But my second teacher was one of the fellow players that is also in La Carte Haute, which is the other company in Strasbourg, Gael Doorneweerd. And he really was an amazing teacher for the group, for me, and he really I think gave me the structure to be able to discover myself in improv and have fun with that. It was a very, very nice, very safe environment but also a working environment. He was also like strict on, let's do good improv, which was not per se the case with every teachers. So definitely that helped. And then I guess I learned a lot from my fellow players. So I was lucky enough to be often with people that had a little more experience than me, or that had different skill sets. And I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot from just playing with them years after years, having different teachers, having different influences. I do not really believe in any one unique master status, because that's not how I think improv works. So I'm trying still today to learn from as many different people as I can, to get inspirations from them and to continue to develop my own vision and my own version of improv. Yeah, I have a couple of names that I have in my head when I think of like who was important in my career, in my learning process. Etienne from Strasbourg that you've met, who was my teacher for a year, really also brought a lot of like structure and visual work. He studied in a mime school in France, miming school. And internationally, when I started traveling in the English-speaking parts of the improv world, because French-speaking is very secluded, when I started discovering the English-speaking world, I was like, wow, there's so many things. A friend of mine mentioned once, my first festival was like opening the front door of my house and discovering that I've lived all my life just in my house, and there is a world outside. And I find that image super interesting. It's like, wow, so many different people, so many different experiences, so many different histories, meeting amazing teachers. That's also changed my vision on some things, being able to nerd and to share that passion, I think, was my best teacher. The community was definitely my best teacher. What about you? Did you have one
Well,
or more?
I think everything you said is very similar to my experience. Apart from learning most things in the Netherlands, I started at a course, but I after a year of working learning at CREA, which was a cultural center, I went to TVA, which is the biggest improv school of Amsterdam, and I feel that I've learned a lot at TVA and the different teachers of TVA, because I've always been more or less associated with that company. The Netherlands has an improv culture where we don't perform a lot, but where we have a paid trainer every week. So that means that you learn from a lot of different people and every week. And in my case, because I was such a big nerd, I had 2 classes a week. So there were like paid teachers for me for twice a week that I learned from. So that again, like that learning curve was pretty steep. And then I suppose I learned a little bit from all the teachers of the Netherlands, including Sven, who I mentioned, Casper, Jochem. I learned a whole bunch from Jochem Meijer, Lieselot, Anja. Yeah, those are some of the names. I think another big name for me in terms of how I feel like I've been very much shaped by his teaching is Tim Orr from BATS in San Francisco. I organized a fair bunch of workshops with him when he was in Amsterdam, and I took them all, which is amazing. I can recommend that. If you organize workshops for someone, you can take them all. And his way of looking at improv, at long form, at narrative, at advanced yesing, saying really yes, specificity, all that stuff, action is how I've been very much shaped. And now I think the last parts of my current education come from working with the Ferocious Four, which is my own group, but there is, for the first time I had a group where instead of listening to a teacher, we got to work on what we think is important. So there was another step in developing my craft, but instead of developing my craft from the outside, letting it come from the inside. And the last step I'm making here is with you, is every time we play and we share and we teach together, we take workshops together, there is another step because you know me so deeply that you challenge me in different ways.
Yeah, I think that resonates a little bit with the feeling of I'm learning much more from my peers than from people that are established authority, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I'm much more inspired by you and just working with you and making shows with you and designing workshops with you, or with any person that I meet from our breed, our generation, basically, than from masters.
Yeah.
What so you've mentioned a little bit your past. What do you still have groups you're associated with currently in the present moment? Do you have groups or companies that you're still part of?
Yeah, though I'm now on a world tour, so I miss them all a whole bunch. One of my first groups ever was, like mentioned, TVA, and I'm still connected to them and doing some advising on artistic levels and stuff. I am part of the Ugly Ducklings, so in Dutch that would be Lelijke Eendjes, which is a group that with all people that do it as a hobby, and they're my friends, and I love them deeply, and I've been with them for now 11 years. So that's cute. They're amazing. They're awesome, and I miss them. I'm part of the Ferocious Four, which is a group I started myself, and that group is super like worldly, which is also the problem because I'm on the world tour. Joanna moved to New Zealand. Kiki is in Texas half the time. So great group, but currently it seems to disperse. I'm part of our duo. I'm part of many duos, not like you're my main. Also in improv, but I think those would be. In the Netherlands, there are not many improv companies that are different from, for instance, how the Ugly Ducklings are. So, a group of friends comes together once a week, works with a paid trainer. There are very few groups that are different. Mm-hmm. So, very few professional groups, very few groups that perform a lot. That makes it that as a professional improviser from the Netherlands, you kind of have no choice but to be part of as many as possible. Yeah. Oh, and I would say I'm part of the gang of Impro Amsterdam, the gang that organizes or that works around the festival.
Cool. Yeah. Nice.
How about you?
Well, you mentioned it. Nowadays, in the very present group, it's this.
Yes.
Where we're performing and teaching together. So that's, I would say today it's my main group, but I'm still pretty connected to some other groups. I'm not actively part of La Carpehaute anymore, but with the people that used to travel within that group, we created our own little group. So we have a subgroup to that is now separated, that is La Carpehaute International, with Cedric and Dan, who are my fellow players, traveling fellow players, English-speaking fellow players. Mm-hmm. So that is definitely one group I'm associated with. I'm still in La Tour. We played a show in December in Strasbourg. We came back just for one night. It's a group that is very non-ambitious anymore, at least. We had a time where we wanted to grow and stuff, but now I think all of us accepted that this group is just us gathering for shows and having good time. And I love that. I find it super inspiring. We have a monthly show that is called the What Impro, and it's a surprise every month. It's another format that is invented by one of the members of the company, and the players hear about the format when they are on stage in front of the audience, and that just brings so much inspiration for me. I'm also part of Lettres Tour for 11 years now, and it's yeah, I miss them too, but I'm very happy to still be somehow connected to them. And then I have a few international groups I'm part of that I tend to travel with sometimes or go to festivals with. The Frautons, which is my silent Western group. I have a show with a trio with Billy Kisa from Greece and Manuel Speck from Germany, where we are also trying to travel a little bit when we can gather together at a festival. I'm part of the SIN, international network, European network, that's gathered twice a year to share and to exchange and to build the international community of improvisers and organizers of improv. Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it?
I realized I forgot
You
mine.
forgot Ohana?
Yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
Ohana.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another European network of improvisers, where I'm gonna miss the first set. For the first time, I'm gonna miss seeing them because I've been to all the meetings.
Yeah, I've done my missing meeting already, and I will miss another one in April.
This is the terrible, terrible life of traveling
Oh.
improvisers.
Oh.
All right, next
Yes.
question.
Future. The future.
Oh, right.
What do you plan for the future? What do we plan for the future? What do I plan for the future?
Yeah, right?
I think, first of all, something that will change a lot of things in my life is that I will move to Amsterdam.
Yeah.
That's already a big change.
Yeah.
I've been living in Strasbourg for 12 years. And in September, when we come back from this world tour, I'll move to your city.
Yes.
So I will leave behind me my improv community in Strasbourg. Maybe come back from time to time to do What Improv.
Yes.
Or other things if people want me.
Yeah.
But we have some projects.
Yeah, so moving back to Amsterdam is in the fall of 2020. And yeah, that's when we're going to start our own thing.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a scoop. I don't know, depends on when you see this. Yeah, so that's going to be exciting to make theatrical improv, to direct some shows.
It is already exciting.
It's
to work on it.
crazy because we're on a world tour and we're also building a company, which is ridiculous, I
Yeah.
think. But
in a good way.
in a very good way, yeah. So I think that's definitely, and that it also makes our plans for the future very open. Like we can do anything within our own company, and we already have more ideas that we can actually execute in a lifetime. But I think putting on shows that we truly believe in, both as a couple but also individually, that I can put on a show that is very much me, that you can put on a show that's very much you. It's going to be the fun challenge of finding audiences for that.
I'm very ambitious.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we have 3 languages amongst us, so to see what we can do in Dutch, in French, in English, to teach. I mean, we have some pretty wild ideas of what we can do, what we want to do.
Yeah, also continue, come back to, so this year of travel is a little bit of a break of any corporate work. We're mostly teaching and performing improv for the art of it, but coming back to that, coming back to corporate, coming back to other fields that we're both excited also about that part of our work.
Yeah, because it's really interesting. Like we now for a year while we travel, we do a lot of improv where we bring it to the stage and where we teach people how to bring improv to the stage. But to apply it to something else, so to use improv to be more creative, be a better presenter, collaborate better with your team. All of those applications of the lessons of improv is something that excites us tremendously.
Cool.
That's it. Oh,
that's
good.
It.
No?
Awesome. We are back.
We're back.
On CBS Improv Channel.
No.
All
right. Anyway, that was
future. That was future.
We talked about future. Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. That's a good.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like in improv. All right, now, my question to you, also because it's on the board. What's your message? What's your message to the people who are interested in improv or who are considering improv?
It's life-changing.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, I think it's true. It is like, it sounds a little like, but it is different from other activities you can do. And that's what is tremendously scary in improv, and that makes us sometimes also be scary if you're from the outside and you see a bunch of improvisers in a bar. It's like, what are these people? But that's what makes it so amazing from the inside. The community that is built, the relationships that you build, how deeply you can connect with people, and how good the community is, how it's good for our soul on a personal level, but also on an interpersonal level, for our relationships and for the world in general. I think improv carries messages that most of the time are positive or good, or that we would need more of that in the world, which goes a little far from what is the message to people that want to start improv. Do it. You can do it. Anybody can do it. It's not that scary, and it is scary. And it doesn't become less scary. You just learn to live with that. I think.
Which I think that's definitely what got me in to stay, is to not have the idea of like, oh, I'm starting this improv course, look at me killing it. Like, no, that's actually not the point. The point is not that you go into an improv class and feel, I think I have a talent for this. I mean, maybe you do. But if you go into it and feel, whoa, this is challenging for me, or oh, it's a little out of my comfort zone, that's exactly where you're supposed to be. And if that scares you, or if in your life you're not ready for that yet, totally fine. Like, that's all right. Go, do something else. But if you feel a little tickled and a little challenged and you like the people, then give it a shot. Give it a shot to stick around and see what happens to you when you're being challenged into something new.
And I would even say, give it a shot and give yourself the possibility to not feel connected to the people, and it doesn't mean anything but improv. I'm saying that because I realize, like, oh, we all, as improvisers, as teachers, as humans, we all have different sensitivities and connections with different things. And so you will find improv schools or improv groups that are super amazing for that type of people, and some other improv groups that are just better for this type of people. And so I would say find your people. That's something that improv can give you. It's to give you the opportunity to find different people that love you for who you are.
On that note, thank you.
Thank you.
Art
Thank you,
Quarter,
Laura.
for having us.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Art Quarter. Thank you, Bhupendra, for having us here in Pokhara.
All right.
Bye-bye.